Hello everybody, welcome back to more Chaos Head Noah. Well, when last we played, we went and got ourselves the first of our character endings, I guess you could say, and quite frankly the one I'm least interested in. I really don't care about Nanami in the slightest. And the ending that we got didn't really change that opinion. In fact, I find it amusing that the ending that we got really wasn't a Nanami ending. We got a ending with a fake Nanami that we had a delusion of. In fact, the real Nanami was so pissed, she ended up rescuing herself and then barging into the story and just being like, hey, big bro, what the F? And yeah, I guess we just kind of decided that we liked the new Nanami that had two hands better and just decided to live life with her. So, grand. Fantastic. Yeah, that's pretty much all there was to that. I did find it interesting, and I think I might have mentioned this in the last video, the idea that this alludes to the fact that we hallucinated the Nanami that we saw in the main story. The one that just sort of disappeared before we went to Shibuya Scramble to get our D-Sword. So that kind of explains that. We might be getting further explanations from each of these endings because my understanding, and I could be wrong about this, but my understanding is that we don't even get to do the true ending until we finish all the other endings. Apparently the true ending will actually become an option on the title screen once we've done everything else. So it may be that we need to establish a bunch of stuff before we go down that route. Who knows what we got out of the Nanami ending? The Nanami ending really wasn't up to much, honestly. We just sort of hallucinated ourselves a delusion to avoid having to deal with the fact that Nanami had been kidnapped and tortured and had her hand taken and basically made Sua pissed as hell. And that was about it. That's all we really accomplished. That's all that really happened. So I'm hoping for better with today's ending, because today we're going to go for the Yua ending, which we accidentally unlocked her story just going through some of the new options an episode or two ago. But this time we're going to do her for real. So let's jump right into it. I don't think there are any hidden scenes that I have to cover like I did a couple episodes ago. We're just basically doing the Yua thing. And I think there's a fair bit of content for this, but we'll see where I feel like cutting it. So let's just get on into it. And here we go. So again, something's written on the blackboard over there. Yep, behind our guy. Before we knew it, we were out of our chair. Yeah, move for a second. Mizumi, or whatever the hell your name is. Oh, look. Yeah, it is Mizumi. All right. The instant we realized what it said, we felt our heart stop. Now, the first time we played through this game, we saw this, obviously, but we didn't get these options that come up here. So we never told anyone about them. We had no idea. No, we hadn't even told Mizumi-kun. Who else knows about this phrase? Who, how, why? We scanned the room. The only one person paying attention was Mizumi-kun. Who had written it? And when? And at the time I kind of theorized maybe we did, since we seemed to be doing some stuff somewhat outside of our awareness. Shogun-esque. But I'm wondering almost if Yua wrote this, because this seems to be what unlocks her thing? I'm not really sure what effect. But if we just go with what we usually pick, the obvious, it's not a coincidence. You're making it up, it's all in your head. No, it's there. The new gen killer is somewhere in this school. We theorize, yes. We know better now, actually. Whoever wrote this is trying to provoke me. That seems blatant. And last time, or at least the first time I went through this, I said no. I was like, wait a minute, don't want to draw suspicion to myself. But this time, no. We do pick yes. And apparently this puts us on the Yua route. Why does this put us on the Yua route? Come on, what's the matter? Walked up to me, grabbed my shoulder, and gave me a good shake. Do I actually erase it?
聞いてる?
Are you even listening?
おい。
Hello, Taku. Mizumi's trying to get my attention. It must have just been a common phrase or something. In other words, it was just a stupid, pointless scribble. You know better. I tried to tell myself that, but I still couldn't calm down. So in the end, I just went up and erased it, moving quickly so that no one would notice. Did someone notice? I guess no one noticed. Huh. And then we move on to the next scene. So let's find out how this gets us on the Yua route. We'll be running into her soon. We still haven't actually run into her in the game at all, but I'll be curious what reaction we get to the fact that we erased that. I guess we'll find out. So here we go, pressing E. And here we go with our very first intermission. Didn't have to wait long. In fact, we're not even out of the first chapter. In fact, we haven't even run into Yua yet. At least not on the official route, the official story that we've already done. The screen is wavering, though, which I'm taking from the Nanami route to mean that things are being delusioned. But we are at new text, and I suspect we're going to have a Yua interlude, because that's what happened with Nanami that one time. Also here, interestingly enough, Shibuya Station was a much different place in the early morning than it was later in the day. Young people were scarce, and countless businessmen, following a jarring ride on the crowded trains, rushed out of the station and scattered every which way into Shibuya. It was a place marked by indolence, yet engulfed by an air of restlessness. The students of Sume Academy carried that with them as well, including Yua. However, the number of them present was rather sparse. Shibuya Station was about 20 minutes away from Sume by foot, and on top of that, part of the route was an uphill trek via Dogonzaka. Most Sume students taking the train would depart at the stop nearest to the academy, which was Shinzen Station. Kusunoki Yua. Yes, that is our girl. Meanwhile, Kusunoki Yua took on the unnecessary task of walking from Shibuya Station. Waking up early for this did not cause any headaches for her. The heart of Shibuya was often suffocatingly crowded, but as soon as one began the climb up Dogonzaka, the number of pedestrians dropped sharply. Taking the extra time to walk and breathe in the refreshing morning air was something Yua quite enjoyed. Is this how we start tailing our boy Takumi? Part of the reason why she chose to walk from Shibuya Station was to see the news displayed on the jumbotrons above Scramble Crossing. As she waited for the pedestrian signal to change, Yua peered up at Ofront's jumbotron, just as she always did. That screen is still wavering. I don't know why. And upon doing so, she gasped in shock. The captions running across the screen before her had taken her breath away. The headline read, "Third New Gen Incident." A certain boy's face rocketed to the forefront of her mind. A boy whom she did not know, nor had ever spoken with. Is this how she gets on our trail? How does she learn about us? But it was a face she had seen the previous morning at school. Though for Yua, that was evidence enough to convince her that he was the true culprit behind New Gen. Boy, it didn't take much to convince you of that, did it? Premonition? Boom? Yua could recall the events of the previous morning vividly. Oh? 7 a.m. Sume Private Academy. Oh, we do get to see. She did have something to do with the blackboard, or maybe she saw us erase it. Yua marched quickly through the empty halls. It seemed that no others had arrived yet, but the screen is still waving, and that concerns me. Her expression rigid, she gazed straight ahead without faltering. Without a hint of restraint in her stride, Yua advanced onward, stopping only once she arrived at a certain classroom. The sign which framed the door number read 2C. Following a quick gaze to confirm her destination, Yua slid the door open without hesitation. 2C was not her homeroom. As a third year, she should have had no reason to even set foot in there. Absolutely no reason at all. That was how it would be under normal circumstances, at least. Is she actually going to write it up there? But right then, she had a specific goal in mind. After methodically scanning the empty classroom, Yua approached the blackboard. She perused the selection of chalk colors for a brief moment before picking up a pristine white piece. Then, using intentionally poor handwriting, she wrote a single sentence on the blackboard. She did write it. She was the one who wrote that. Why? Why did you do that? Whose eyes are those eyes? She whispered the words to herself after writing them. Gently placing the chalk back down, she surveyed the room once more. I wonder how you're going to react. Well, we know. Do you see that? Her whispers continued, for nobody to hear but herself. Maybe you won't be fazed, or maybe it'll surprise you, and then maybe you'll try to erase it in a hurry. If you do that, you'll unlock my route. In the silence of the empty classroom, her intimidating voice echoed. I'll have evidence that you're the killer. I'm not sure that's evidence we're the killer. I need those dots connected a little bit more there, Yua. I'll be hiding, watching. She's just outside the door like Spider-Man, watching your each and every move. You don't know my face, but I know yours. I know it. I know your face. I've seen it, and I'll be watching. This is that habit she has of repeating things like 4 or 5 times that I find so quaint. I do wonder, though, what will be going through your head when you see the blackboard? I suppose I'll just have to see. Right, Nishiji Takemi-kun? Yua forcefully bit her lip. After she had finished her task, Yua made her way up to the roof to kill time until the students of 2C finally arrived. Then, 10 minutes before the bell rang, Yua returned to the hallway. Peering in through the door, she kept an eye out for anyone who might react to her inscription of "Whose eyes are those eyes?" And, just as she had predicted, a certain panicked schoolboy was the one to erase the words. One look at his face, and she could tell exactly who it was. Nishiju Takemi. I wonder how this gets us... I wonder how this gets her on our trail in a way that not erasing it doesn't, because she still got on our trail. She immediately started trailing us, even when we didn't erase the words, but we'll see. I'm sure of it now. I know it's you. It has to be you. It can only be you. I still need this, elaborated on. She muttered those words to herself, only for them to be drowned out by a speaker mimicking the sound of pigeons cooing. Is that what that noise is? Because it's irritating as hell. The pedestrian signal at the scramble had changed colors. What, no you may pass? The massive wave of pedestrians collectively ceased their standstill and began moving once more. However, Yua remained where she was, paying no heed to the possibility that she may be in the way of those trying to cross. She simply stood in place, focusing all her attention on the subtitles that appeared up on the Jumbotron. Okay. Well, about a day had passed, and I'd spent pretty much every hour of it in Baselard. So, typical day. Haven't even made time to eat. Also typical day. Immersed himself fully in the role of Neidhart. So, I'm guessing this is the same text as before. So let's see where the E key drops us off now. Much in the same way that we would get off at a train station. Let us see where the next stop is. And we are back with a new scene. We are finding out, apparently very early, that Kusunoki Yua was born with a twin sister. Something we don't find out for many chapters. But right now, if you're wondering where we got dropped off, we are still in Chapter 1, oddly. We have basically made contact with Takemi. We have gone basically shopping for figurines. We've talked with him a few times, basically shadowing him, attaching herself to him as she does. What we have not done is had the scene at the end where we confront her in the park and she accuses us of being Shogun. So that has not happened yet. But we just kind of got dropped off here. So yeah, Kusunoki Yua was born with a twin sister named Mia. And what of it? However, she had died 1 month ago. It had been ruled a suicide. This is some chapter 6 or 7 information that we're getting in chapter 1 here now. The two were like a pair of couple necklaces, incomplete without one another. Their bond simply was not comparable to that of ordinary sisters. The shock of her death left Yua feeling as if she were only half the person she once was. That was how much she adored her twin sister. When she heard the news, an endless waterfall of tears sprang forth from her eyes. For some reason, the parents just didn't care, though. She collapsed onto her sister's bed, desperately searching for the girl who had been living there until only yesterday. Why did she have to die? Yua searched for any answer at all, but found none. It wasn't really suicide. She would never kill herself. Someone must have murdered her. These thoughts only fueled the flame of her grief. Maybe, Yua thought, maybe she left behind a message that nobody's found yet. Is that how you found the whose eyes are those eyes? Because there was that one video that we didn't discover until way later, but did Yua find it first somehow? Tormented by feelings of guilt, she began rummaging through her sister's possessions. When she did, she found a single diary, and within it were the words... What? Why would Mia write this? Also, why does this not count toward my whose eyes are those eyes delusion count? This seems like it should. Whose eyes are those eyes? Why? Why would you diary that? What happened before the group dive? This was a clear cry for help from her sister. Even so, Yua had no idea what that phrase meant. With nothing to lose, she decided to search for it online. Okay, is this how she starts connecting the dots? Oh, she actually finds Takemi's article, his essay from like 8 years ago or whatever. Among the results, she discovered a single essay. Yep, you can see it right there on the screen, 5th grade. One that had been entered into the National Elementary School Writing Contest. It was a competition that had been held 6 years ago by the Ministry of Education, and the title of one of the winning essays was... Whose eyes are those eyes? Okay, so it wasn't that private a phrase. It's right there. The author's name was written beside the essay title. While the kanji could be read in multiple ways, the correct reading was clarified. Nishijo Takemi, a 5th grade elementary schooler at the time. However, that was where the trail went cold. She had no idea what connection Nishijo Takemi had with her sister's death. Is that it? Then came an incredible coincidence. Never mind. It was rather common for Yua to pass by Shoto Park on her way to school. And in that park, about twice a week, she would spot a lonesome schoolboy eating bread. As Yua observed him in his time of solitude, she somehow grew fond of seeing him. On her way to school one day, Yua happened to run into a friend of hers at the station. The two of them decided to walk together, eventually coming across the boy on the bench. Upon seeing him, her classmate spoke up.
That
guy over there is a second year named Nishijo. He's in my brother's class. I hear he's one of those shut-in otaku freaks, so you should really stay away from him, Kuzunoki. Interesting. Nishiju. The characters in his name would normally be read as Saijo. For it to be read as Nishiju was an anomaly. There was no way it was a mere coincidence. As soon as she could, Yua got her hands on the list of second-year Sume Academy students. And there it was, that name. Nishijo Takemi. Still, the shared name would not stand on its own as decisive evidence. It, too, could be merely coincidental. Even if it was the same person, that still doesn't connect the dots. Why would your sister write the name of some obscure essay this guy wrote years ago all over her diary? And how would that even connect to her death? So Yua decided to put her theory to the test. Okay, so that's why she wrote it on the blackboard. I guess that confirms it's the kid who wrote the essay, but I still don't, that's still a bridge a bit too far. Whose eyes are those eyes? She wrote those words on the blackboard and watched as he trembled in fear. That was not the end of it either. Leaked eyewitness reports from the crucifixion incident, which claimed a Sume Academy student was spotted fleeing the scene, exploded across the internet. Yua had all the evidence she needed. Nishiju Takumi was a suspect. Okay, suspect fair. And he very well could have been the one who had murdered her sister. How did you find out the Shogun information? Another week came, and with it another school day. As usual, Takumi headed to school with his head hung low, depressed as ever. I think we're back on track. Autumn was starting to come into full swing. Short sleeve, blah, blah, blah. I suppose it made sense that I'd be surprised by the change of season, given I rarely went outside in the first place. So yeah, we're back with our boy. Let's see where the next train station drops us off. Hit knee, all aboard. And here we go. Boy, we fast-forwarded hard. Basically, every other scene that we saw with Yua played out the same. With her showing her true colors, confronting us about Shogun. She had a couple little interludes in her bedroom about the research she was doing on multiple personalities, the email she sent us, catching us in the cafe and chasing us out into that scene that we had, that conversation with Ayase. We had her stalking us a bit. We saw her during the earthquake. Pretty much everything went about the same, except until we hit about Chapter 7. We just finished hanging out with Senna and Kazupi over Crunchy Coons, and now we are basically just starting this chapter, which is Sun and Moon. So we're literally like, boom, as soon as this chapter started, you were out, bam. And this is presumably the meeting where she meets Bon, and initially, the first time we played through, this is when we would have found out about her twin sister, but of course, now we know ahead of time. So, how's this going to play out? Start of the new chapter, start of the new content? It was only a few little intermissions in Chapter 1 showing how she basically got on our case. But here we go with official new route ending stuff. Initiated by Momose, a meeting was slated to be held at Frieza Credit Bureau, a meeting to which Bon was now running nearly half an hour late for, as he does. Bon-chan, you're awfully late. I'm not getting any younger, you know. Momose's angry voice hurled into him as he entered the office. In response to this, Bon gave a minor shrug, then proceeded to walk up to the desk of Frieza's president with an amiable smile on his face. He had not brought any refreshments today, something he was beginning to believe may have been a lapse in judgment. I seem to recall this being the same text. My, where's Suwa-chan? He's off working on another project for the day. The chapter is called Sun and Moon, by the way, which I'm assuming is a reference to Yua and her sister. You sure do enjoy working youngsters to the bone. Hey, I'm working hard too, Missy. I gotta remember my Columbo voice. I was up all night yesterday doing all kinds of research. Thanks to that, I've learned a thing or two about the culture surrounding high school girls these days. I am at a loss for words. Something you're very talented at causing. Well, anyway, since you called me over here, does that mean you got in touch with the kid? Yes, she's here right now, in fact. Nice work, Momo-chan. Oh, and while we're on the topic, is she a cutie? Just slap him. Yep, thank you. Momose promptly smacked Bon over the head, stopping his opportunistic grin in its tracks. The sheer speed with which she had turned her wrist made the slap especially fierce. That's enough stupidity out of your mouth for one day, you old lech. I was just kidding. Before arriving at the building, Bon had made a private request to Momose. It entailed setting up a meeting between him and a certain person connected to the new gen cases. I still think this text is pretty much the same as last time so far. Rather than anything work-related, it was merely to satiate a personal curiosity. He was not planning on talking about anything related to the new gen investigations for the time being. And due to his position, Bon could not simply meet with the person on his own, else he would risk drawing the ire of the detectives he was getting ahead of. Momose urged Ban over to a corner of the office. It was a fairly cramped space, almost all of which was already taken up by shelves packed full of files. The location was used as a reception area of sorts, and a pair of love seats had been wedged into the only place they could fit. Ban entered the section after Momose, and his eyes landed upon a lone girl sitting in one of the love seats. The girl was wearing a Sume Academy uniform. Her head and shoulders were curved toward the ground, and she looked incredibly haggard. Did she look haggard before? Sorry to make you wait, dear. The girl looked up in startlement upon hearing Momose. In the process, her glasses had slipped down her nose a bit, leading her to swiftly readjust them with her finger. Oh, not at all. I don't mind. When she saw Ban, her expression turned slightly fearful before bowing her head and greeting a moment later. Ban felt somewhat hurt by this. He had made every attempt to look as non-threatening as possible in both bearing and appearance. But the girl's reaction made him realize that despite his best efforts, the ferocity and intimidation particular to detectives was seeping out all the same. Looks like I've still got a lot more practicing to do, he thought with bitter amusement as he sat across from Yua.
Kusunoki
Yua-san, right? Yes. The older twin sister of the late Mia-san. I got that one right too? Yua slightly adjusted her posture, then returned a nod. The first new-gen incident, the group dive. Among the 5 high schoolers that had leapt to their deaths was a girl named Kusunoki Mia. We actually burned right past the video of the group dive that went up on YouTube or whatever the hell it's called in this game, where someone had said, "Whose eyes are those eyes?" before they jumped. I'm surprised there wasn't some sort of interjection from Yua somewhere in that area. Maybe she'll mention it here. Or upcoming. Well, there's no need to be nervous. Don't think of it as me interrogating you. Just think of it like we're having a nice old chat. But before we get to the topic at hand, you mind if I ask you something? Yua-chan, what's your opinion on your sister's passing? Ban-chan, what on earth are you? Whoops. I'm sorry about that. It comes with the territory. You wouldn't believe how much I'm talking with my hands when I'm voicing this guy. You can't see it at all, but I sometimes forget to be considerate when I'm talking to people. But still, I am curious. I overheard people at HQ talking about it, and they said that the late Kusunoki Mia-san's family was quite strange. Ban-chan! No, it's okay. Before Momose could rise to her feet over Ban's insensitive comment and slap him again, Yua stopped her. I also believe something is wrong with them. The 5 that jumped off the roof in the group dive had no reason to commit suicide. Their friends and family all insisted that. But Mia-san's family was different. Ban took his fan out from his belt and began cooling himself. This is Japanese Columbo's version of the cigar. He's just got a fan. I've been told that they were the only ones who weren't adamantly against the idea. That they had accepted it. Just like that. In fact, they said so little, it was almost bizarre. Why do you think that is? After Mia-chan died, both Mom and Dad snapped. Anguish seeped from Yua's voice. On the day we heard about Mia-chan, they cried and cried. Mom and Dad seemed absolutely heartbroken. And yet, the very next morning, for some reason I can't understand, they were smiling, happy. It was as if they'd gone right back to how things were before Mia-chan died.
たった一日で。
It only took a single day.
私、わけがわからなくて。
I was at a complete loss.
二人はミヤちゃんのことを
I
忘
thought
れ
that
ようとしてるん
maybe
じゃないかって思
they
う。
were trying to forget about Mia-chan.
そうしたら、
I wonder if this was a rucksack interference of some
だから
kind. Someone at Nozomi or whatever covering their tracks in some way. But then with this big smile on his face, Dad said something to me.
お前に妹
He
なん
said
ていないよって。
You don't have a sister.
ミヤちゃんが残した洋服とか
Even when I showed them her
服とかを見
clothes, her
せても
shoes,
全然取り合って
anything
くれないん
Mia-chan
です
left behind, they completely disregarded it.
それはお前のために予備で
They
買ってあ
just
った
said,
ものだって。
Those are just a few extras we bought for you, just in case.
そうやってお父さんたちはニュー
They
スから
ignored the
警
news
察の話からも
and
目を背
everything
け
the
て
police said.
記憶からミヤちゃんのことを消し
It
去ろう
was
と
like
し
they
て
were
いるん
trying
で
to
す。
completely erase Mia-chan from their memories.
つまり双子じゃなかったこと。
What you mean to say is they were trying to make themselves think that they'd never had twins.
それで警察にもうちは一人
And that's when they told the police that they only had one kid before turning them away.
私とミヤちゃんは一卵性で
Mia-chan and I were
見た目
identical
は無理
twins.
二つなんですけど、
So while our appearances were exactly alike,
あの子は
my sister
妹は
wasn't exactly favored by our parents.
あの子はいつも自分の
And
気
yet,
持ちを押し殺して
She always
私
kept
の
her
ことを
feelings
一番に
secret.
考えてくれていたん
And
です。
she always put me before herself. As Yua spoke, memories from when Mia had still been alive resurfaced in her mind. Is this going to be the teddy bear? First came a memory from when the two had still been in elementary school. Do I dare press E? I'm going to press E and see if it takes me somewhere. It didn't take me anywhere. Okay. I still feel like this is mostly cut and paste, but we'll just go through it and see where it starts to deviate. First came a memory from when the two had still been in elementary school. One day, some relatives had brought the girl a single large teddy bear as a present. Yep, it's the teddy bear story. In contrast to the raw joy Yua displayed, Mia insisted that she did not like stuffed animals, and proceeded to not even so much as look the plushes away. Both her relatives and parents were upset with Mia for not acting as a child should, but despite Mia's protesting, Yua whispered to her that the two of them could share it, that it could be something they could both treasure. However, in response to her sister's kindness, Mia simply said that she did not want it, and that Yua could have it. About a month later, when Yua had grown tired of the teddy bear, she woke up in the night and happened to witness a certain scene. Aw, isn't Mia adorable? Little ladybug hairpin. With an incredibly joyful look on her face, Mia was hugging and talking to the bear plushie. That was the first time Yua had ever seen her sister so happy. And from this she realized that her sister's insistence about disliking stuffed animals had been a lie. Mia had been keeping her own feelings hidden, all for the sake of her older sister. The next day, Yua found a lovely drawing of a bear beneath Mia's pillow. Until her sister grew tired of the teddy bear, Mia had been hugging and sleeping with the drawing in lieu of it. Things very similar to this happened again and again over all the 18 years they had spent together. For their birthday celebrations, Yua had always blown the candles out on the cake. But when Mia was prompted to do it, she would say, "I refuse to do something so ridiculous," angering her parents. Yua advanced to the private high school Sume Academy. Mia, meanwhile, had been misbehaving at school, deliberately scoring low on exams, and thereby moved on to a public high school. Due to the exorbitant fees, their parents would have only been able to afford sending one of them to a private school. No matter how hard Yua would try to let her sister have something, Mia would always gain the upper hand and force Yua to be prioritized. To achieve this end, she even intentionally took a dislikable attitude. To the very end, I took advantage of Mia-chan's kindness. Before now, I only ever thought of myself. After Mia-chan passed, I couldn't help but think that there must have been something I could have done for her. And I felt so much regret.
私が代わりに
I wish
死んであげ
that
れ
I
ば
could have died in her place. This may be new text, because we touch on this when she goes to the hospital.
しかも挙句に
I could be wrong, it's been a
存在
while.
そのものを
And even after
忘れてし
everything,
まうなんて
to think our parents forgot that she even existed.
こんなのあんまりです。
It's all too
あん
much.
まりにも
It's too
悲
sad
しいです。
for me to take. Yua, having now reached her limit, could no longer squeeze out any more words. Weren't you here to talk about the new gen case? She took off her glasses, pressed her fingers against the corners of her eyes, and broke down in tears. Momose sat down beside her and gently rubbed her back.
それでユアちゃんは一人で
Well,
事件の
it
ことを
sounds
調べ
like
てきた
Yua-chan has been investigating the incident on her own.
ミヤちゃんに一体何があったのか
All so she can find out what happened to Mia-chan.
そりゃ大変だったろう。
None of that's easy. It must have been really hard on her.
そして
And in the process, she was able to identify a certain individual. Oh? As Momose held Yua's shoulders, she turned her eyes toward Ban.
西条匠くんよ
Nishiju Takumi-kun.
なるほど。
Ah, I see now. Stroking the stubble on his chin, Ban leaned forward from the sofa.
いつだったか日常と
At some point or another, I did hear about the non-stop pursuit starring Nishiju and a high school girl. A detective from another jurisdiction let me know.
もしかして
Might, that have been you, Yua-chan? Yua nodded apologetically. Interesting.
詳しく聞か
Very interesting. Would you mind telling me more?
おうと思ったけどちょっと
Actually, I was going to ask if you could tell me more, but I got to duck out for a minute here. With a strange smile, Ban lightly bowed his head to Yua and Momose. This is probably Sua calling about the 7th incident. His words had been interrupted by the cell phone in his suit pocket. He swiftly took out the phone and checked the screen. Sua's name was displayed across it.
もしもしどうした
Yep. What you need, kid?
先輩7番目っす
Sir, the 7th's here. Yep.
なんだと
The DQN puzzle. What'd you say? Sua's voice sounded strained. The sounds of investigators frantically scurrying about could be heard through the phone. Sua must have been at the investigation headquarters.
ニュージェネ第7の事件が起きた
The 7th New Gen incident happened, which I was responsible for. Bond's eyes opened wide, and his expression turned bitter as his teeth sank into his lip. Sensing the seriousness of the situation from his behavior, Momose and Yua watched the detective with unease.
外車は3人友人同士
Three Vicks! Apparently they were buddies. Apparently they were torn apart by a giant monster.
3人とも胴体から
All three were sliced in half at the torso.
それぞれの上半身
Their upper and lower halves were then swapped around, and then using synthetic fiber, well, fishing line to be specific, the mismatched halves were sewn together. Man, Sua and Hazuki are creative murderers.
それと額にそれぞれ
They also had wounds on their foreheads in the shape of the letters Q, D, and N.
何かのメッセージか
Some kind of message?
そこまでは
No clue.
それと
And it doesn't end there either.
司法解剖の結果
The autopsy found something pretty interesting. Is this new?
外車の胴体の切断部は
The severed parts of the Vic's torsos weren't split by a saw, knife, or any other kind of sharp object. Okay, no, that's not new.
どういう意味だ
Then how'd they end up in half?
なんか強い
Apparently, they were torn apart by some strong force. Possibly a rancor. Torn apart? Bond repeated Sua's words back to him with a low groan, then roughly scratched his head with the handle of his fan.
まるで怪獣だな
Like a monster did it? Or like one of those wizards that are real popular nowadays? No, like a monster did it.
あの先輩
Sir? Are you being serious? How'd you know it was a monster?
映画オタクの自分
Sorry, but it doesn't matter how big of a movie buff I am. I just don't see myself agreeing with that opinion. You lying sack of... I'm just making a comparison, you schmuck.
いいからさっさと捜査に戻
Never mind that. Just get back to investigating. After barking that order to Sua, Bon ended the call. I got a little confused about who was talking when there. This game really needs some actual nameplates. This looks mildly new. Yeah, okay, maybe we're in actual new territory now. By the time Yua finished up with Bon and Mimose and left Frieza, the sky had long since been covered by a thick veil of darkness. During the time she had spent there, Yua had explained all the suspicions she had gathered from her investigation of Nijiju Takemi. Bon was a detective, and Mimose was the head of a private investigation agency. If she could get the two of them on her side, then perhaps Nishiju Takemi would finally be arrested. That's what Yua had been hoping for. Nishiju Takemi needed to be arrested. Yua had sympathy for the boy's painful circumstances, so she would have preferred it if he had turned himself into the authorities. But since he had refused to do so, she had no choice but to get the police involved. That had been her plan, at any rate. But much to her surprise, Detective Bon had told her that Nishiju Takemi had been removed from the list of suspects. Yua found this news absolutely unbelievable. She did not want to accept it. So I guess now she's not willing to accept this based on the fact that we erased the words from the blackboard. We openly panicked, and she's condemning us on account of that. Why had her theory been dismissed? It was blatantly obvious that Nishiju Takemi was behind New Gen. Hey, not me. Biting down hard on her lip, Yua increased her pace as she hurried toward the station. Going to take matters into her own hands? She had to return home as quickly as possible, investigate the case from top to bottom, and find some conclusive evidence. And with that evidence, she would be able to prove her theory correct to Detective Bon. What kind of voice is that? That almost sounds like Sua. Is that who I think it is? Little Miss Kusunoki? The sudden sound of her name startled Yua, stopping her dead in her tracks. The words of her homeroom teacher came to mind. Shibuya has become all too dangerous lately. Women really shouldn't be out alone at night right now. Remembering that warning, Yua froze completely. No, the 7th incident is done. You're good. The voice she had just heard belonged to a rather friendly-looking young man. It is Sua! Why would you know Yua? Let's see, what was your first name again? Yua-chan, right? Oh, we do not trust this bastard. Not at this point. How does he know? Would he have known Mia and would know who Mia is? Well, I guess he would be aware of all that stuff since he's on the police force. He would have been part of the investigation. He knows all that stuff. Do I know you? Also, there was that time in Chapter 1 where Sua passed by Yua and Takemi when they were outside the school. He just showed up for one brief frame and then took off. I think he recognized Yua then, possibly, maybe? Are we going to get some follow-up on that? She felt like she had seen him somewhere before, but at the moment could not remember exactly where. I'm pretty sure it's where Psy'Min Sezz. What? You don't remember? It's me, Sua Mamoru. Here, check it. Man, he is casual. Making sure that only Yua could see it, the man took out his police badge and showed it to her, then quickly shoved it back inside his suit pocket. After the group dive went down, I paid your family a visit. Real nice people, all of them. We talked about all kinds of stuff, and I know for a fact you joined in too. My apologies. I remember now. Thank you for coming to talk with us back then. Yua bowed her head. Sua, what are you after? The incident had really shaken her to her core, so much so that she genuinely could not recall Sua's face. However, their talk back then had indeed helped Yua sort out her thoughts regarding the bizarre nature of her sister's death. And for that she was truly grateful to him. You really, really shouldn't be. You were with Detective Bon just now, weren't you? Huh? Is Bon-san an acquaintance of yours? Well, we're in the same division of the TMPD, you see. He's my senior. I swear, though, the guy can't go a day without laying into me about something. I'm sure talking to a nice young lady like yourself made him pretty happy, though, so maybe he'll give me a break today. This is just between you and me, but when he said he'd be meeting with you today, he had the creepiest smile on his face. Sua, you poisonous bastard. And look, I love the guy and all, but I'm 99% sure he had something real dirty going on in that head of his. I wanted to tag along, but I had work to do on the investigation, you see. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I need to get in touch with your folks. I thought about heading to your house directly, but if only there was a better way.
連絡と言いますと
Why do you need to contact them? Oh, nothing crazy. It's just about the group dive. We discovered that the culprit may have left something behind. What?
本当ですか
Really? What's your angle, Sua? It was the first Yua had heard of this. With all the hesitation now evaporated, she stepped closer to Sua. Oh man, he is playing you like a fiddle, dear. Yep, the mass media recently spotted it at the scene of another incident. So it's picked up quite a bit of steam already. Can you guess what it is? You're never gonna believe this, but it was a Darth Spider helmet. I was waiting to make that guess. Can you guess what it is? Oh, I can guess what it is all right, and it's exactly what I thought it was gonna be. Well then, yeah, Darth Spider, the true culprit.
それを
Was
集団ダイブの犯人も
the group dive culprit wearing that as well? Darth Spider, it's the character missing from our character reference sheet in the options. There is still a name. There's a name in the list of voice actors that you can adjust the volume of that I haven't seen yet. I don't remember the name. But there's another character. There's one more character, a major character that has not yet been introduced. And I'm curious what that's going to be about. It's got to be true ending material. But who is it? Is it Gladiole or someone related? Yep, remember that video of the incident that popped up online? After we got back to the analysis, it became clear as day. By the way, speaking of Darth Spider, there was this huge uproar in Shibuya about some Esper boy. He made the news and everything. If I remember right, his name was Nishiju Takumi, I think? You gotta wonder, why would that Nishiju guy have a Darth Spider helmet, just like the guy behind the group dive did? You know, I would be very suspicious of a police officer just divulging information this openly. I don't think Yua's going to twig to that because she's very invested in this case and not really going to notice that. But, the moment she heard those words, dark impulses began to flood Yua's heart. Sua, you're trying awfully hard for a guy that we already know has a rucksack that can just make people do things. She had been completely convinced. She had only begun feeling it a few moments ago that all she needed was one piece of decisive evidence. One piece to prove to herself to Bon and Mimose, and now she had it. I think you're being rucksacked. Well, I gotta head to Frieza now. So, if you'll excuse me, miss, can I tag along? Yeah. And with that, Sua waved goodbye and left. All by herself now, Yua stared down at the pavement, utterly paralyzed.
彼だわ
It was him. Her murmurs were to no one but herself.
彼なの
He did it.
やっぱり
Say it 5 times. He did it after all.
彼しかいない
He had to be the one who did it.
彼に間違いない
He did it, without a doubt.
彼が
He
妹を殺
killed
したの
my
よ
little sister.
彼が
He
ミアを
killed
殺したのよ
Mia. No, it was red, white. Okay, so are we... Oh! Grim? Are we still in, new territory? Yo! Aye, Nightheart-kun, I'm waiting for you because there's been another new gen. What are you even on about? New gen, dude! What the F do you think I'm on about? Me and Sue have been busy. New generation, new gen. Come on, that shit's obvious. Use common sense. More importantly, there's a 7th case. It happened again, another new gen. I'm going to see if we can skip ahead. And depending how far we skip, maybe I'll unskip or maybe I'll stay skipped. Never mind, I can't skip. Alright, we're just going to keep playing it by ear. It had happened again, another new gen. Is you going to appear outside our door now? How long was this damn thing going to go on for? Was I next? Would I be the victim of the 8th case? The 9th? No, they're done. But you get to experience them all. Lucky you. Anxiety aside, Grim was pretty much the new gen news guy at this point. Well, Grim would be very educated on the subject. He'd been keeping me in the loop about basically everything. Even now, he was going out of his way to link a bunch of blog posts and news articles about it. Seemed like he really wanted me to take a look for some reason. Biting my lip, I reluctantly clicked the first link. 7th New Gen case dubbed the DQN puzzle. Yes. And we are familiar with this. It is the bullies that came after us, that Kazui had to interfere with, that apparently we dealt with, according to the victims talking to Sua later after the fact. And now we're on the boards. New gen for the win. Wait, it says DQN, Lamau. Police are dumb as fuck. You trying to say it's one of us anti-DQNs? The lower body's swapped around and shit. It's like a puzzle, but with corpses. If only I could trade my upper body for some alphas. Our Esper boy, Nishiju, will sniff out the perp for us anytime now. Yeah, Nishiju, get on it. New Gen News Bearer. DQN puzzle to be continued. Oh yeah, they were hung up. Nobody mentioned that yet. At approximately 4:50 this morning near a railroad in Shibuya, a passing newspaper salesman discovered the bodies of 3 male homicide victims suspended from an iron pole. The police investigation discovered that the victims were all residents of Shibuya. Fujita Koei, unemployed, Anzawa Saburo, a college student, and Takagi Ryo, a construction worker. Names we don't care about. Each victim had been severed in half at the waist. Their upper and lower bodies were then interchanged with one another and stitched back together with thread. Wild. There were also mysterious wounds carved into their foreheads, and the police are investigating the possibility that there may be a message left by the culprit. The authorities believe the case is part of a series of grotesque murders that have been occurring in Shibuya over the past 2 months. The investigation is ongoing. Well, yes. Dude, rocking around. At the end of the news clip, photographs of the 3 victims were shown, and we knew them. I had seen those faces before. It's them! The guys who beat me up yesterday. I'd given them my wallet, but they'd kicked my ass anyway. I'd then fallen unconscious, and when I woke up, Kazupi was beside me. The 3 of them had been collapsed on the ground, covered in blood. I dug my wallet out from my pocket and stared at it intently. When I came to, Kazupi had been carrying it, and she'd given it back to me soon after. Could the person who killed those 3 be? Well, Yua's gonna have an opinion on that. No, definitely not. The last time I'd seen them, they'd been beaten to a pulp and covered in blood, but they hadn't been cut in half or anything. Which would mean they'd been killed after Kazupi and I had left. It had to have been Shogun after all. Was he trying to provoke me? Was I next? Would I be the next one to die? It was also possible that Shogun could show up in person again. He seemed to be playing with me like it was some kind of game after all. Maybe he'd feel like sending me on another quest soon. Just the thought alone terrified me. Remy, save me, please. Where did you go? Weren't you supposed to protect me? Oh, Biua. Also, just for the record, yes, Nanami's hand was in the box, and we went on our little quest. And yes, Hazuki just keeps on wearing glasses. I think it's interesting that Hazuki has always been only ever drawn in the same position. Her face angle doesn't really change like other sprites do. And I think it's because of the glasses. They don't want to have to redraw sprites over and over again, so they just drew the face in one position, and one position only for every single instance, and then it's just toggle glasses on-off. You lazy art guys. Just now there'd been a knock at the door. I don't recall if there was a knock. Was it Remy? Did Remy actually finally come by? Or is this Yua? I mean, we're due for a Yua. It's a Yua route. Someone was there. I looked at the clock on my PC. It was past 8 p.m. Who in their right mind would show up this late? It's Yua with a gun. Wait, Remy! It had to be her! She'd finally come to save me! Okay, it's not Remy. She said she would stay by my side, hadn't she? So it only made sense that she'd come back to me. Would it have killed her to come a little earlier, though? Feeling like my salvation was at hand, I practically threw myself at the door. I then removed the padlock and opened the door. Hi, Yua. Whoa, I tried to call out Remy's name, but a hand suddenly clamped my mouth shut. Panic instantly overwhelmed me. I didn't even have the chance to see who it was. How did you not get a chance? I tried forcing the hand off my mouth. Do you see with your mouth? But before I could, my attacker threw all their weight against me and I staggered backward. Still, I desperately tried to stand my ground. We know Yua's got some strength. We've felt her grip before. I flailed my arms around wildly, thinking it'd somehow help me break their grasp. I then opened my mouth wide and bit down on their hand as hard as I could. Well, good try, but despite that, my attacker remained silent. They weren't even fazed. I bit down with all my strength, so they must have been in pain, but they still didn't let go. They pressed against me even harder, causing me to lose my balance. No longer able to resist, I fell to the floor with them on top of me. Yua got them Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. The back of my head hit the ground so hard I nearly lost consciousness. My vision started to go blurry and I couldn't tell how exactly it had landed. It's Yua with some handcuffs. And to top it off, the assailant was still covering my mouth, so tightly in fact that I could barely breathe. My consciousness was starting to fade. So before I blacked out, I desperately tried to get a glimpse of the person who'd attacked me. How would that be difficult? Yeah, exactly. Man, it's so hard to tell who's attacking me. They're literally right on top of me as I'm staring right at them. This was difficult. Yeah, you drew blood on that hand, I guess, but Yua is on a mission. Yua? Oh no, Shogun's underling. Oh god, I'd completely forgotten about her. I was so focused on Shogun, his #1 underling, slipped my mind. Realizing that, the sheer terror sent shivers down my entire body. I struggled as hard as I could, desperately trying to escape. But under the full weight of her body, I couldn't move an inch. Under normal circumstances, I would have been focused on the fact that our bodies were pressed together. But I lacked the capacity for that right now. Now was not the time to be drooling over female contact. But somehow it still occurred to him. There was only one thing on my mind. I needed to get away somehow or she'd kill me. Your arms still seem to be, well, they're not that free. Blood trickled out of Yua's hand where I'd bitten her. Even so, she kept pressing down with all her might, her grip just as intense as when she'd first grabbed hold of me. She was trying relentlessly to keep my jaw shut to the point where her nails were digging into my cheeks. A sharp stabbing pain pierced through my body. Is she trying to keep us quiet? Because she could just say, shut up. Or she's just gone full psycho. Okay, fair enough. It was you. Hey, Takumi, you still got that spare crucifix stake lying around? Because I think you might need it. Her mutters came between ragged breaths, much to my horror. I had to keep resisting, so I grabbed Yua's long hair and pulled hard. Good idea. But Yua still didn't budge. All she did was grimace. Using her free hand, she gripped my hand tightly and dug in her nails once again. Yep. This is not as romantic as the other route. The immense pain forced me to let go, and then using that tiny opening, she pinned my hands to the floor. How many arms does this girl have? It was you, wasn't it? It was you! Yua's glasses had slipped down her nose during the fight. Tears were welling up behind them, likely from the pain of me pulling her hair. Just like that day at Shoto Park, she was staring right through me with those cold, sharp eyes. You killed. What the hell was she talking about? Was it the same bullshit as always, calling me the new gen killer? I haven't killed anyone! You came here to kill me, you dumb bitch! I tried to glare back at Yua, but hers was just too terrifying to confront. Nothing good can come from making eye contact with dangerous people. And as I soon came to realize how true that was, how unhinged a look could really be. Yeah, she looks a little unhinged. I looked away, wishing from the depths of my soul that I'd wake up from this nightmare, but... Don't you dare look away! Yua brought her face in even closer. I could feel her ragged breaths on my cheek. Look at... Not don't look at me! Look at me! My god, she's the anti-Takumi. With how close she was, it was practically impossible to look anywhere else. Her breath was incredibly hot. I wanted to headbutt her, but Yua was pressing down so hard I couldn't even lift my head off the floor.
教えてあげる
It's alright. I'll tell you.
あなたが知らない
I'll tell you all about the other you that even you aren't aware of. Man, she is good at her research.
もう一人のあなた
There is another you inside you. Okay, never mind. DID. Multiple personalities, in other words. When we were at Cafe, Yua had said the same thing. But that was just some stupid fucking delusion of hers. She didn't know shit. And she sure as hell didn't know me better than I did.
西条君
Nishija-kun, do you still not know? Are you really not aware of it?
何も知りませんでした
Are you thinking I'll let you go if you pretend not to know?
今まで何度も忠告して
I've warned you countless
どう
times.
して聞いてくれないの
So why won't you listen?
あなたの中にはもう一人
There's another you inside you.
将軍
Shogun, as you call it. And that you is doing unspeakable, unforgivable things.
これ以上放置はできない
And I can't let it go on any longer.
人殺しはさせ
I
ない
won't let even one more person be killed. Except you. Because killing you will stop other people from being killed.
あなたは早く病院へ行き
You
治療
must go to the hospital and get help immediately.
私は
And if you refuse, I'll hand you over to the police. Yes, trust our boy with Hazuki. Much better idea.
将軍
How can this go wrong? If you leave Shogun to his own devices, then all of his crimes will be on you, Nishija-kun. I wonder if we'll ever get into that room behind the black wall.
あなたも人殺しに加担している
Not that we've been there
理
yet.
解して
You will be complicit in the murders. You need to understand that. I don't need to understand shit!
理解できるよね
You understand, don't you? I didn't fucking kill anyone!
理解してもらわな
If
き
you
ゃ
don't understand, then we have a problem. I don't have multiple personalities.
理解すべき
You have no choice but to understand. If anyone's got multiple personalities, it's Yua. There's mean Yua and there's meek Yua. That's the kind of shit you only see in anime and manga and shit. This is real life. I didn't have DID, goddammit.
出てきて
Come
私
out.
はあなたと話
I want to
し
speak with you.
聞こえているん
You
です
can hear me, can't you, Shogun? Oh, this is interesting. Is the gaze gonna be there? I'm not Shogun! You got the wrong guy! Shogun is someone else. I've even met him, for fuck's sakes. Also, you're his underling. What's going on here? He uses a wheelchair. He appears out of thin air like some kind of ghost. He always reading my mind like some sick fucking pervert. Despite having the voice of a kid, he's covered in wrinkles like an old man. He's my enemy. Don't lump me in with him. Just the thought makes me want to puke. Wait, wasn't Yua supposed to be Shogun's underling? Yeah, exactly. I could have sworn she was working for him. But it really did seem like she genuinely had me and Shogun mixed up.
西条君実は
Relax, Nishija-kun.
あなたは
I just want you to go to sleep for a little while. What are you gonna do, drug us?
将軍にその方を
Let Shogun take control of your body. No! To be fair, this has happened because Shogun did take over Takami's body to write whose eyes are those eyes on all those online forum posts that one time. So maybe this will be productive. I don't know. We'll find out. Even if I do go to sleep, that won't fucking happen. I don't have multiple personalities, you stupid fucking bitch. I tried my hardest to say all that to her, but since her hand was still pressed firmly against my mouth, the best I could do was make a bunch of muffled groans.
出てきなさい
Come out.
出てきて
Come out, Shogun.
出てきて
Come out now.
出られないの
Won't you come out?
出てこられるは
I
ず
know you can come out.
出たいでしょ
You want to come out, don't you? Say his name 5 times and Shogun shall appear.
出てこい
Come
人殺し
out now, murderer. Tears began to fall from my eyes. I lost all will to resist. All remaining strength left my body. I was so tired. Oh, are we actually going to switch? Why? Why did I have to deal with this psycho? Why did I have to listen to all the bullshit she spewed at me? What had I done to deserve this? This was just too much. All because this delusional stalker had come to the wrong conclusion, and now no one would save me. Yua literally acting on information that the actual culprit gave her. Was I gonna die by her hands? Even if I didn't. Even if I made it through today, there'd be no guarantee I'd survive tomorrow. Shogun could still show up at any time. Would I have to live the rest of my life in fear? Please, I didn't want that. I didn't want to live like that. I'd rather go insane and then get locked up in some mental facility somewhere. I'd rather die right here, right now.
どうして泣くの？
Why are you crying? Let me up! Yua slowly began to remove her hand from my mouth, and then she started lifting herself off me. As soon as her weight was completely off, I felt instant relief.
将軍が出てきたの？
Has Shogun come out yet? I shook my head lifelessly.
ざりなんだ。
I can't do it anymore.
いっそ殺せ。
Just kill me.
殺さない。
I won't kill you.
私が殺さ
I
せ
won't
な
let
い。
you get killed either.
あなたは罪を償う。
You will atone for your crimes,
そして真実を語
and
る。
you will reveal the truth.
死んで逃げることは
I
許
won't let you
さ
escape, not even through death.
ない。許さないわ。
I won't allow it.
許すわけにはいか
I
ない。
won't allow that to happen.
将軍は
Shogun is somebody else.
ニュージェネの犯人は
He's the new gen culprit.
将軍はあなた。
You are Shogun.
あなたなの。
It's you.
あなたしか考えられ
It
な
can't
い。
be anyone else but you. My words had gone in one ear and out the other. She refused to listen to me. She was completely convinced that she knew the truth. There was no point resisting.
将軍、出てきてよ。
Come out, Shogun.
出てきてよ。
Come out now.
出てきてって言ってるでしょ。
Didn't I tell you to come out?
どうして出てこないの？
Why aren't you coming out?
あなたがそこにいる
I
のは
know
分かってる
you're in there.
絶対に
I
将軍を
will
引き出して
make
み
you
せる
come out, Shogun.
私は諦め
And
な
I
い
will
から。
never let you go until I do.
それまで絶
I
対
will
に逃
never
がさないか
give
ら。
up. Never. And she left, giving up. Suddenly, Yua stood up and went to close the open container door. She slowly picked the padlock up off the floor and used it to lock the door shut. And then she stashed the key in the pocket of her uniform. Welp! This is our life now. Why was she doing this? What was she thinking? I'm going to hit you with my foam sword if you don't leave. Whoa, there's an anime pose. I will never let you go. Okay, we're playing JoJo's Bizarre Adventure now. Strike a pose. I will never let you go. A faint murmur, spoken to no one but herself. One that chilled me to the bone. Also the JoJo pose. Okay, I was waiting for something to happen there. I clicked. Of the countless fast food... Who are we now? Surely we didn't go for lunch at some point. Of the countless fast food restaurants located throughout Shibuya, every single one was always packed front to back with young people. It took a lot of courage for a lone, middle-aged man, we're Bond, to come to a place like this. After all, he would be sure to stick out like a sore thumb. Those were the thoughts circulating in Bond Yasugi's mind as he sipped his coffee, surrounded on all sides by young people chattering away. The drink in his paper cup was already starting to go cold. A single clear file folder sat on the table in front of him. Inside it was a handful of photocopied documents from the investigation files, many of which were adorned with Bond's countless sticky notes. Bond had arrived at the restaurant about an hour ago, the location where he planned to personally re-examine the file's contents. As for why he had chosen such a busy place like this, well, he had been removed from the New Gen investigation team a few days prior, but he still wished to independently run background checks on all relevant persons. The copy of the report that Bond was sifting through, which was never intended to leave the police station, had a few images attached to it. One photograph depicted one of the victims of the first New Gen incident, the group dive, a girl named Kusunoki Miya. Bond's interest had been piqued the previous day when he had met with Miya's older sister, Kusunoki Yua. After hearing Yua describe Miya's personality, he had decided to investigate further. Oh? At first he was also looking into rumors from around Shibuya, such as the high school girl with a sword, but in the end every lead turned up cold. That is, except for Miya. And after reading through the documents again and again, he still felt like something was off. There was a lot of information which seemed trivial at best, or at the very least not directly related to the case. But after putting the pieces together, something felt out of place. And when Bond had heard Yua's story yesterday, that feeling had crept up on him all the more. After all, there was something in the file that Bond could not ignore. A pair of glasses was found among the possessions of Kusunoki Miya, one of the group dive participants. That was the detail that rubbed Bond the wrong way. He took a look at a list of notes taken from various interviews conducted during the investigation. Taking another sip of coffee, Bond let out a befuddled grunt. From her birth all the way until her death, there was not a single photograph of Kusunoki Miya wearing glasses. Oh, is it going to end up being the case that Yua actually is Miya? Because that was alluded to in the hospital, and it seemed like a lie just to get someone to get Yua to commit suicide. It seemed like a story that was just being played on her, but, I mean, it could have been someone else's glasses. There were 4 other people there. It was her sister, Kusunoki Yua, that wore them. He'd even gone so far as to obtain access to Kusunoki Miya's medical records. Or maybe Yua was the one who died and Miya just kind of filled her role, took her place so that her parents wouldn't be sad because they loved her and hated Miya. Sure enough, she had boasted perfect 20/20 vision and thus had no need for glasses. Kusunoki Miya had been a quiet girl with an interest in anime. Quite the contrast to her happy-go-lucky sister. Miya went figure shopping with us. I mean, Yua went figure shopping with us. I meant Miya, who might be Yua, who might be Miya. That all matched up with the description Kusunoki Yua had given. While the 5 victims of the group dive were friends, were they? Some reports suggested that their encounter on the rooftop was the first time they had ever met. Well, wait a minute, which one is it? While the 5 victims of the group dive were friends, some reports suggested that they were their first time. Well, were they friends or weren't they? Allegedly, they were online I see. Who had gotten together for an offline meet. Okay, fair. Naturally, their online activity was heavily scrutinized as part of the investigation, but there was never any signs of suicidal tendencies displayed by the victims. Furthermore, several hours before the group dive, 2 high school girls, who appeared to be twins, had been spotted walking into a fast food restaurant in Shibuya. Had they switched places for some reason? Bond took a look around. He was sitting in the very same fast food restaurant mentioned in the report. Before sitting down, Bond had also taken the time to speak with one of the restaurant's employees. The employee had told him that the 2 girls had chatted for a while, and then proceeded to take a 10-minute bathroom break. Wow! You were watching closely. What on earth could have taken him so long in there, Bond wondered. He stared intently at the women's restroom, which caught in the scornful glare of every young girl nearby. Realizing this, Bond flashed a wry smile before returning his gaze back toward the streets outside the window. Huh. Interesting. 18 excruciating hours had passed since Yua had raided my container. Wow. Yeah, Yua does not play. When Yua wants to get something done, when she commits, she commits. My hands had been tied behind my back and around the leg of my loft bed. Yeah, what did I just say? Fortunately, I'd been tied sitting down, so it wasn't too exhausting. Unfortunately, the rope coiled around my wrist was constantly digging into them, which was fairly painful. I somehow managed to doze off for about 3 hours during that time, but it didn't do me any good. I was still very sleepy, likely due to the fact that no one could get any half-decent sleep like this. Nanami's going to come by for the survival check and just be like, what the hell? Damn it! I wasn't into this S&M shit at all. If only I could hit decline on this RP invite. Well, he's keeping his sense of humor after 18 hours. Props to him. And we're still in a JoJo pose. Yua was still sitting on the sofa watching me. She had been doing so all night. She really had been putting her all into it, too. She did nothing else the entire time. Did she ever sleep? What was she even trying to accomplish here to begin with? Yua was convinced that I had DID, but I knew that wasn't true. She could wait like this all she wants, but Shogun will never come out. She hadn't gagged me, and actually allowed me to speak right after she tied me down. Of course, I'd taken full advantage of that to voice the above thoughts over and over again, but they just went in one ear and out the other. After a few hours of trying to change her mind, I realized how obstinate she really was. She really, really is. So I just gave up. And after that,
あなたが将軍を生み出したんです。
you created Shogun.
あなたが将軍なんです。
You are Shogun.
現実逃避の手
He's
段。
simply a mechanism for you to escape reality.
将軍はあなた自身。
Shogun is none other than you yourself. You know, Shogun being the gaze should really be looking down on this situation and just being like, hey, what the hell?
同時にあなたではない。
But at the same time, he is his own separate existence.
もう一人のあなた。
Another you that exists within you.
あなたの負の側
The
面。
embodiment of your dark side.
あなたの弱い
Darth
心を
Spider.
守るための存在。
An existence crafted to protect your fragile mind.
あなたの狂気。
Your madness.
快楽殺人者。
You are a murderer that takes pleasure in every kill.
手段は選ばない。
One who doesn't care about the who.
殺す相手も選ば
One
な
who
い。
doesn't care about the how. I
殺す
cared about the
ことが
fourth
存在
who.
理由。
That was Takashina, whatever, the doctor. One who exists just to kill.
誰でもよかったんです
And it
か？
doesn't matter who you kill, does it?
本当に
Does it?
ミヤはなぜ選ばれたんですか？
Why did you choose Mia?
答えて、
Answer me.
答えてよ。
Answer me now, or I shall JoJo pose further.
答えてください。
Please answer me.
答えてほしい。
I want you to answer.
答えないと許しませ
You
ん。
need to answer, or else. You had kept mumbling her pathological ramblings over and over and over again, never coming up for air. My room is extremely small, and my only means of covering my ears, my hands, were tied up, so I had no choice but to listen. I thought I was going insane. On top of that, I felt as if I'd only gotten to experience the tip of the iceberg. I started trying to think of a way to escape. I tried pulling the toilet card to weigh my chances of getting out of here. Yeah, you kind of need to take washroom breaks here. But it didn't work. She did untie my hands and allow me to go, but she followed me very closely. She stood right behind me the entire time, never taking her eyes off me, even when I was doing my business. And to make matters worse, she even continued spouting those insane ramblings of hers from behind my back. How long was this shit gonna go on for? How long was this shit gonna go on for after this shit? I couldn't even get some actual sleep, because who knows when this bitch was gonna snap and kill me out of nowhere. Then again, even if I was awake, I wasn't confident I'd be able to defend myself anyway.
何がきっかけ？
What triggers it?
どうすれば出てくるん
What
で
does
す
it
か？
take to make you come out?
肉体的苦痛？
Physical pain? Let's try that.
精神的苦痛？
Psychological pain? I want to destroy all your figurines.
性的衝動？
Sexual urges? No. We've had enough of those already.
トラウマ？
Invoking trauma?
偶然？
Or is it simply by chance? Yua's murmurs suddenly came to a stop. But even then, she was still glaring at me. The room had become dead silent, and yet given the circumstances, the stillness only served to make me even more tense. Suddenly, the sound of a stomach growling broke the silence. Yeah, you guys are going to need to eat at some point. I hadn't had anything to eat or drink, so I was obviously hungry, but that still hadn't been me just now. Which meant that Yua was hungry too. Moreover, I was sure I'd heard a stomach growling, but Yua's lack of reaction almost made me reconsider. Normal girls, Saratan, normal girls like Saratan would have had a way cuter reaction. Yeah, she'd most likely say something like this. What? It's not my fault. Yeah, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse, but I've been trying so hard to hold it in, so it's only natural. Yes, this is the natural response of a normal girl like Saratan. Huh? You want to know why? Well, I mean, last time you said I'd put on a couple pounds. But it's not like I went on a diet because you told me that or anything. Don't take it the wrong way, you big dum-dum. Yes, that's exactly the response I fully expect from Yua. Ah, what a classic tsundere. As transparent as a glass window. Sarah, you're so cute when you get mad and blush like that, Sarah. Damn it! The situation I was in was really making me want to escape into my delusions. I'm surprised you haven't already. Hey everybody. Just like before, there really isn't a good clean place to cut this in half, so I'm just going to call it here, and you can look forward to what happens in the conclusion in the next half. So I will see you then. Take care.